Hey guys, it's Austin Tyler Whitley here, and sorry about beforehand about how this is going to turn out. We're all just winging it right now with how chaotic it is, and hopefully you guys are all staying safe and healthy. So I did make a PowerPoint, and it's a very good PowerPoint, which I will be emailing out to the instructor. But as for right now, I'm going to kind of use it as note cards to help keep me on track. Okay, so my presentation is how to put together a movie scene, which if any of you remember from the intro presentation I did in the class, I said how I wanted to be a film director in the future. So today I'm going to talk about a few components that I feel like are going to help the movie scene come together. I also did have a funny meme that I would like to read off first, and it's a movie clip I found from Scream 1996, and it says, "The killer's in the basement. So, naturally, what should we all do? We better go there, right? Said no one who survived a horror movie ever." Well, what are we here for? First of all, movies are something that as humans we all like and we all watch. Even if you don't like them, you still watch them before and remember them. Especially if you had one that you watched over and over and over again, just to see one scene like I did when I was younger. Okay. Having been in multiple film classes and written a few of my own scripts, I feel like I'm qualified enough to talk over some of the stuff that I feel like is important from what I've learned with information. My thesis for this is the scene of a movie can come together with time and place and a few other ingredients. This will help the flow and continuity of a film. What I mean by flow and continuity of a film, think for a moment of a film being like a river. It all flows together towards one eventual end, which for a river's instance is the ocean. But for a movie, think of the ocean as the climax of the movie. The movie is all going towards one inevitable event, which is the climax. So, what are we talking about? If it wasn't clear in my thesis, we were talking about place and time as the two main components that come together to pull a movie together. But before we start, let's talk about a few things that I learned originally when I was starting out writing my own scripts. A script is not a novel, so what I mean by that is a script, think of more as guidelines or a manual handbook. A book, you have to visualize in your head because everything's written out in front of you. You get to see characters, instructions, what they're doing, place, setting. Movies, as said, is more of a guide for the actors and crew to follow to see how you can bring it to life. With a book, you have to visualize in your head. With a movie, you visualize on screen. So you don't really have to do any imaginary things, scenarios. Less is always more. As I said before, you don't really have to be super descriptive, but you do have to put enough so that people will know what's going on and not get confused. No fluff is a big must because, as I said, confusion. Just don't add any fluff or unnecessary material. Okay, so first off, we're going to talk about place, and on my slide, I did have a picture of the St. Louis Arch, which is a place in St. Louis, but as I said before, I'm using this more as my note cards now, so I will email that to the instructor. If you guys want to see it too, I will actually probably try and link it up somewhere for the class to watch too. So my 5 key components for place are type, kind, relation, location, and purpose. These all have different meanings, but they all go together to make place a substantial component in the film making process. So type, think of basically as more of a definition. What type of place is it? If it's a school or an office. Kind is more of a descriptive notion. Think of as crowded school, new office, old office. Purpose. Well, we all know what the purpose of school is. Purpose is basically more descriptive too, but it's more of a definition. Purpose of the school is where people go to get educated. And office is where people go during the day to go to work. Relation to students, obviously schools are a relation to students because that is where student A goes to history class, student B goes to math class, and then all the students meet in the middle for cafeteria. Location is basically easy. Where is it located? Suburbs, big town, small city. And for time, I'm kind of upset that I can't turn this around right now because I have an emoji clock, which is a funny picture of the emojis going through different various moods, which instead I feel like is something that we as humans go through on a daily basis. But for time, I have some very interesting topics. First is time versus place. And think of time versus place as place, no matter how many settings you go through, that setting is always going to stay the same unless it's like some natural disaster movie. But time is always continuously and constantly changing, so it never stays in the same place for a long period of time. Movie time versus reality. Basically, you can go to a movie theater for an hour and 37 minutes, and in that time that you've watched the movie, you've still only sat there for an hour and 37 minutes, but the movie has gone through maybe 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 days, or 5 years. And estimating time, I do want to read a quote off that I found. It's from a book by Eugene Bell that is really helpful. And it goes, "You can foresee how much time can be needed if you know what action has been started. Estimate how much time has passed if you see the accomplishment of the action." Basically, what I take away from that is estimating time. You can actually estimate how much time it's going to take if you relate it to the real world accomplishments that you have done. And these are my reference pages, but to go back to the start, I wanted to take away a good example of time for me is this is a script that I wrote. It's pretty cheesy. It's called Footprints in the Snow. I'm working on a better title for it. But here's a good example of time in the movie script that I think would be helpful in showing what I'm trying to explain. Okay, wait. How long? An hour? Are you really going to wait an hour with what I just told you? That is dialogue line from one of my characters, Kaylee, who has just found out that police are having to make her wait an hour before they get there with what she just told them is an intruder is outside of her house. And under it is more of a description of what's happening so the characters can visualize. She angrily hangs up the phone and throws it on the floor, causing the back to open as both batteries go rolling across the still-covered Mountain Dew and popcorn-covered floors. One rolls into the popcorn bowl and stops, while the other rolls under the couch. Hearing a small thud as the battery hits the back wall, Kendra looks at her sister as she awaits to hear the news. Basically, what I'm trying to explain here is that what would feel like an hour to the characters, is naturality to us, is only going to be 15 to 20 minutes. So hopefully you guys have taken away a good bit of new information about what you haven't already known about making a perfect movie scene go together. And have a good rest of the semester. Thank you.